There's a passage in the Bible written almost 2,000 years ago, Revelation 13, verse 17. It says, "A mark will be required, placed on your right hand or your forehead, and without that mark, you cannot buy and you cannot sell." This is called the mark of the beast.
The mark of the
and
beast.
For most of human history, people assumed that this was just a metaphor from the Bible, kind of symbolic message that ancient texts used to describe power and controls in ways that people could visualize at that time, because obviously nobody could imagine the technology that would make this possible today. But if you're paying attention to the world and everything that's going on today, it almost seems like everything we're watching is part of some manufactured crisis.
Let me
a transition
know
in human history
if you guys
with a new
believe
opportunity to centralize power.
of the mark of the
We
beast.
are now moving
I do.
from the industrial to the intelligent age. We are living in the transition to a new time, which will change. It will change how we communicate, how we work, how we live. But now in this new age, the base will be knowledge, data, and intelligent insights.
Now, in the modern
This
world,
is crazy, y'all.
we call this prophecy the grid. And I know how it sounds conspiratorial, but it's happening right now. In 2025, a company co-founded by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, started deploying a device called the Orb. It's a silver sphere about the size of a bowling ball, and what it does is it scans the iris of your eye to get what's called your biometric signature. It's the one thing about your body that's completely unique to you and can never be changed. Now, in exchange for that scan, you will get something called a World ID, which is a digital proof that you are a real human being. As of right now, over 18 million people have already done this voluntarily. Why would they do that? It's because in a world of AI and robots, how do you prove you're actually a real person? This is how. The World ID is now being integrated into apps like Tinder, DocuSign, Zoom, Shopify, and dozens of other platforms. Sam Altman has said that proof of human will eventually be required by every website, every app, every transaction on the internet.
People are really going to need this and really going to need to do this in a privacy-preserving way. So World ID is our effort at that, and our goal is to make World ID be this new proof of human for the internet.
At the same time, the United States passed something called the Genius Act, which is a law that creates the legal framework for stablecoins, aka digital dollars. And what makes a stablecoin different from the cash in your bank account is that it can be programmed. It can be given rules. Rules about where it can be spent, on what and when it expires, and whether it works outside a certain area. The World Economic Forum is also now arguing that water, soil, and even the air we breathe needs to be assigned a financial value. It needs to have a price, and it needs to be measured.
Now we need
the
economics of water, not only in terms of monetary values.
I mean, it kind of already is that way when you go buy. You have to go buy soil for your garden to grow, right? Right.
But also in terms of governance, in terms of recognizing water as a commons that we now need to manage as a broad systems approach.
If we're going to protect natural systems,
Hey, I live in Michigan. We're surrounded by water. Yeah, we still pay for it.
Is to bring nature onto the balance sheet, to bring nature into the ways that decisions are made within business, to allocate a value to it and to bring it into accounting and financial mechanisms.
Basically means that the air and water should not be freely accessible. They should be a financial asset. And while all of this is happening, there's been a huge build out of cameras, satellites, cell towers, and AI data centers in communities.
Check out Flock if you haven't heard of it.
Now, some of this framework was brought to life by Catherine Austin Fitts, who used to be the Assistant Secretary of Housing under President Bush. And she talks about a specific plan of how this is going to look like. She says that there's 3 parts that are being built that have never existed before in human history.
So there are 3 sort of pillars that I track. One is the programmable money, and that's what we...
Nova says hi, y'all.
The second is the digital ID, because you need digital ID systems that are interoperable globally, and then the local hardware. And those are sort of the 3 pillars.
Programmable money, the global digital identity system, and the surveillance hardware.
Sorry for the interruption.
Both of those systems. And she says that when all 3 are complete, the people who control that system, aka the central planners, those people will not need laws to influence society. They're not going to need the police or the courts. If they want you to do something, and for some reason you're not doing it, they'll just turn off some important aspect of our lives. Whether it's the money we use, the IDs we need, or they could just restrict our ability to buy and sell or travel somewhere unless we comply.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens...
What is that, a global dictatorship?
That's why some people believe that this was a prophecy that came from the Bible. So in this video, I want to talk about what's being built, how this affects the investment markets, and what's going to happen to the idea of money itself. So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the mark of the beast. Okay, I want to start this video with a little
Stay
preface.
for the mark of the
I'm
beast,
not
he
saying that the
says.
digital ID is automatically evil. I'm not saying that a digital dollar is the end of freedom. I'm not even saying that Sam Altman is some bad guy building the mark of the beast. Any one of these things on their own, you could argue, has a reasonably good explanation. Like a digital ID is really convenient. I've lost my ID so many times before, it'd be nice just to have it on my phone. A programmable money is
Same.
That's also nice. And cameras can make neighborhoods safer. These are all genuinely true and good reasons, but here's the thing. They're all being built together at the same time by connected institutions that'll be managed by a system that has never existed before. And it's the combination of them that allows for the centralization of power in a way that was never possible in human history. Now, here's something that's going to blow your mind. One of the main companies that's going to be building the surveillance and data infrastructure for this system is called Palantir. You've probably heard of it.
Palantir
is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and